For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Last week, I spent some time in Florida for work. I was a media guest for a charity event, and I don't know exactly the timing. We did tape some segments there, but I don't know if you're going to hear them on this podcast or what they're being used for. But I've talked about it. We've hosted a podcast from Air Canada's Dreams Take Flight in Disney World, I guess 3 years ago, right? Because of the shutdowns, the kids. It's basically Air Canada has a whole bunch of different cities where they will load up an airplane with a bunch of kids, fly to Disney for the day, and then basically come home. So it's a 24-hour trip. Essentially, the kids get to the airport at like 2:30 in the morning. There's a bit of breakfast. There's, juice and muffins and donuts and whatever. Get on the plane, fly, in this case from Winnipeg to Disney World in Orlando, and then back, and then get home a little after midnight. So it is almost literally a 24-hour time period. And I've done this as a media guest for many years. I think it's about 7 or 8 years. And it kicks my ass now that I'm 40 years old. So I'm going to tell you that story of the exciting trip from last Wednesday. Now, if you're a regular listener of this show, you know that I don't normally sound like this. So I have been deathly ill. I've been home now for over a week, about a week and almost a week and a half, and I'm sick. So we're going to talk about airplanes because I want to know, if you travel now, do you get sick a few days after you get home from a trip, flying, vacation, whatever it might be? But I'm connecting it to the plane ride. So I've had some conversations with people, and they say, yeah, actually, it's not that you're sick on the way home or the next day. It kind of kicks your ass about 2 or 3 days later. It's not corona, because it's happened to me even before, corona was a thing. And it's the exact same thing. It's basically that cold. So I'm gonna talk about that. So Disney World, getting sick. And then last weekend, while I was sick and already kind of annoyed, we had a function to go to that, well, I'm going to be honest, that not many of us in our family wanted to go to. And it was a little bizarre. Now, because I'm not the most social person, I don't go, to restaurants and whatever with big groups normally. It was quite fascinating to people watch, and then also kind of team up with some relatives and just kind of make jokes and gossip and hear some fun stuff. So that's what we're talking about in the next 30 minutes, is the very bizarre kind of week that I had, but also very eventful as well. So it's coming up on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now, it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. I also have to tell you, by the way, speaking of travel, this is, I think, the first time where we've had 2 of our key people in different countries than us right now. So Bonnie Winters, is one of our executive producers. She right now is in Mexico. Her and her husband, Mike, are there for their son's wedding, bride wanted to have one of those destination weddings, and it was supposed to be, I think it was last year. I can't even ask her right now. I believe it was supposed to be last year. Of course, again, shutdowns. So they're having it Saturday, tomorrow. Yeah. So Bonnie and Mike, Bonnie and her husband Mike flew out on yesterday, and they're just getting settled in the hotel. And then Suzanne, who is one of our other producers, she is celebrating her 50th birthday. She and her husband both went to Hawaii on Monday. This week, anyway. So it's kind of funny that I was in, Florida, and then when I come back, then they skip the country, and Suzanne is celebrating her 50th birthday, and Bonnie and her husband Mike, by the way, they just celebrated their 51st anniversary. Their 50th was last year, and it's just kind of fun because April for me is a very celebratory month. Because I launched my syndicated radio show called Top of the Charts in April. My speakfreewithjb.com website, that's where I post my newspaper columns. I've been writing that for about 20 years now. That launched at the beginning of April, 20 years ago. And we have our men's swimwear and underwear company called Happy Bulge Swim Company that on April 6th celebrated 4 years in business as well. And so April to me, and I'm one of those entrepreneurs that whether my staff throws a party for me or not, and I always kind of feel it weird when my staff throws me a party because they're basically using my money to celebrate me. So something that I started to do at a very early age as an entrepreneur was celebrate my accomplishments. So when it was the 1 year anniversary, or if I hit, 10,000 hits on the website, or had whatever it was, I found a way to celebrate. And so I would get decorations, I would get a cake, I would get balloons, I would do, stupid, silly pictures. Now I do selfies. And that's a way to keep me motivated. Our projects are greatly successful, so I don't sort of need that morale boost, but it's now just something that I still do all these years later because, there's so much gloom and doom, and, I'm not above buying myself a cake. I'll go to the store, right on there, congrats, Jeremy, or celebrate, way to go, JB. I'll do that for myself. Fucking rights, I will. Why not? Why not? I've worked hard. I've accomplished it, so I will celebrate it. And now, like I said, I've got a husband, I've got staff, I've got, other people who will celebrate my achievements. But anyway, so that's why April for me is always just kind of a very strange month. We've got, as I said, Suzanne's birthday, we got Bonnie's anniversary, and there's just other things internally as well that go on outside of our business projects. So now, I did mention earlier in the show that, I guess we're only 5 minutes in, but last Wednesday I was away. I went to Disney World. And what happens is, I started telling the story. I've been a media guest, and so what I do is I go, I team up with about 3 or 4 kids. In this year, it was 3, and they co-host a radio show with me. And then we also use the audio for a podcast. Normally, it's the Scribble, and then we produce something for Air Canada's in-flight entertainment. In that case, it would run. Usually, I think it's the summer. So it was a bit different this year. Things were a little bit changed. So that's why I said I don't know if you're hearing it on the podcast this year, what we're doing with it. That's all still being figured out. So what it is Air Canada has this really cool day for kids, and it's done at a bunch of different cities across Canada. So depending on where you are, you're either going to Disneyland or Disney World. And for Winnipeg, there's, 100 and some kids, and everybody gets on the airplane. The parents don't come. Sometimes they will if they need to chaperone their child, but we get to the airport. The kids get there for about 2:30 in the morning. I roll in at about almost 4 o'clock. This year there was a panic. They were running around like wondering what happened to me, and I was like, well, I've done this so many times. Really? Because it's very different than a regular traveler at the airport, okay? Because first of all, at that time of the day, there are no other flights going out. So the airport is essentially deserted. And I think maybe that's also part of it's strategically planned. It's on a Wednesday, which is a very slow day. There's no other flights going out. So when we get to the Winnipeg airport, it's a very small airport. I mean, you're kind of almost right at the departure or at the check-in counter, and then security. You're almost right there when you walk into the airport. So It's not like you're going to have to stand in line for security and get get everything checked. It's like you get there, they know me, they hand me my ticket. Okay, we go up to security, we take off our shoes, whatever it is. Because it's one day, nobody has suitcases they're checking. Everybody's kind of told, leave stuff at home. Just bring, your shoes, your hat, your sunglasses. You don't need money. There's, nothing happening. And so it's a very quick, through security. Customs doesn't even really ask you questions because they know why you're going. They know what you're doing. And then you go on the plane. And again, it's not like it's boarding zone 2 now, boarding zone 2. It's like we're all doing the same thing. So it really is the most ideal situation you can have when you're traveling through an airport. So we all get on the plane. We fly out at about 5 a.m. And almost within 10 minutes of takeoff, there's a pillow fight. Everybody has pillows, and they just start whipping them at each other. And I run down the aisle with the camera, and I'm taking a video of it. And then there's breakfast served. There's Dairy Queen ice cream given a couple hours in. The flight's about 4 hours. They play Disney music, and the flight attendants all are dressed, in Minnie Mouse skirts and ears and hats and, big giant, hands and things. And it's quite an exciting day. This is the first time for a lot of the kids to go on an airplane. This is the first time a lot of them have been away from their parents, even left the country, even left the city. So there's some nervousness, but a lot of excitement. And when I'm on the plane, I I'm sitting with my co-hosts, and I'm interviewing them and just kind of having some chats with them, doing selfies. We land in Orlando. And we actually don't go through the airport terminal when we get there. We are met by all the police cars are there. The fire trucks are spraying the plane as it lands. That's a ceremonial kind of a thing at airports. And the kids get the stairs brought up to the plane, almost like, the president is, he gets the stairs brought. The kids come down, there's people there cheering them on. There's these tour buses that we then get on, and then we make the drive to Disney. We go into the park, we get our passes and everything, and the kids are in, and we spend about 8 hours going through Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, I think was the one that we did this year. And yeah, we spent eight hours at the theme park. And this year, the weather was not sunny and hot, so that was kind of nice. It was a bit gloomy, rainy a little bit. We actually... Now, normally we get front of the line access. Things changed, I guess, to Disney. They're going through some, drama. And we didn't get to go to the front of the line for all of the rides, and we actually spent 3 hours standing in line for one of the rides. It was, somebody's going to have to give me the name. That roller coaster, I took a picture of it. If somebody can, I can't think of, because I was calling it not Dopey. I was calling it the wrong name every time. Hold on, I'm going to be talking with my people it's the last set of, yes, the 3:30 or 4 o'clock pictures. They're out. Where they're going to bring those up, and they'll find, I took a picture of the sign there, and they're going to tell me what it's called. So one of the kids really wanted to go on this ride, and he was talking about it even on the airplane. So it's fascinating that these kids, have never been to Disney, don't really know much about it, but they know this is the ride I want to go on, or this is the character that I want to meet. And so, Slinky Dog, thank you. So he kept saying Slinky Dog to me on the airplane. I'm like, I got no idea what you're talking about, kid. So then somebody kind of whispered in my ear, it's a roller coaster, it's a ride there. Oh, okay, cool. So then I was like, oh, that's a really fun one. I'd never heard of it. And so as soon as we got there, again, I said, you ready for this? It's going to be a good day. Slinky Dog. I'm like, okay, I'm not in charge. So it's not like I have any say. There's group leaders that go with these kids. I'm just kind of the tag along. I'm not the grown-up, right? Because I'm not the one who's sort of telling them, okay, kids, stay together. Like I get to be the fun kind of rabble-rouser. I get to be, come on the rides with me, you guys, and get them. Hey, you guys want more sugar? So he wanted to go on this Slinky Dog ride. And unfortunately, we didn't get the front of the line access for this one. So we stood outside 3 hours standing there. Now, this roller coaster, it was fun. I'm going to tell you, it was a very fun ride, but it lasts probably not even 3 minutes itself. So the people that are waiting in line, I'm just sitting here going, this is dedication. Now, again, we don't pay for this. So, I can only imagine, I believe it's $100 and some a day, right, to go to Disney World. I'm just amazed that people will spend their time on vacation and their money to stand and because if you think about an 8-hour day, which is what we were there for, we only got to go on like 3 rides or 4 rides. I think we did 2 rides in the morning. We got to go quickly to the front of the line. Then we had the 3-hour one. And then I think, watched like a 3D movie, and that was kind of it. We really didn't do very much. So, as a consumer, as a traveler, as a vacationer, as a parent even, I would look at that and go, what a fucking waste of time. It was so, but... for us too, it's 3 hours with kids that we don't really know, but you're getting to know them throughout the day. So you do kind of form a relationship with them. And, but we've also had 4 hours talking on an airplane, and we've had, and then by the end, then the adults are kind of just like, we're just kind of standing there going, oh my God. And then our backs are killing us, and we're just, we're sore because we're standing there, we're not moving. And people's watches, right? Adults have those watches that tell you that you need to get up and start moving. And one of the women yelled at her watch. She's like, I am standing up, because I guess it thought she was seated and not moving. It's like, no, we're standing at Disney World. Fuck off. But it's always a great time, because these kids are going to come back with a whole bunch of memories. And we leave the park at about 7 or 8 o'clock. We again go through the back of the airport. We don't go to the airport terminal. And security greets us there. It's kind of a random spot check, because they know that we haven't gone anywhere all day. Like, we've been at Disney and that's about it. And so, there's a random bag check, but for the most part, we just go and get right back on the plane. And then there's a Subway, a meal from Subway. There's snacks and, goodies and treats, and the kids get a Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse doll. It's on their chair or on their seat when we get onto the plane. There was one for me, as my dogs were a little bit upset before I left. So the wonderful flight attendants gifted my one dog, Bruno, who's a golden retriever, and he loves stuffed animals. So they knew that he was having a rough night before I left, and then he was having a rough day because I was getting pictures from the dog sitter. My husband was also out of town. This is what was kind of strange about the whole thing was... they had to go with somebody, or they had to be in a new house that they weren't familiar with. And so I was getting these texts and pictures of like the dogs basically just sitting and staring at the door, because they saw me, go through that door when I dropped them off the night before. And so it was like, oh my God. So they got they got a stuffed animal. But when we get back, though, on the way home, every year now, because it's generally the same flight attendants and volunteers, we have this tradition and it started by me just kind of making a joke one time about, I want to put on your Minnie Mouse dress, where I basically, I dress up in mouse drag, you might call it. I don't know. And is that even legal now in Florida? I'm not quite sure. And so I get silly at the back of the plane with the flight attendants, and we do a bunch of pictures. And so this year was no different. And then there's kind of like this after party sort of wind up for the Air Canada team. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of them, I think almost all of them are older than me. I don't know how they find the energy. They work that flight in the morning. They've got the energy to greet the kids. They are at the park with us for most of the day. They get back on the plane. They prep the plane for the way back. They serve again for another 4 hours. And then they all go to a hotel and have a nice wind up. And it's so wonderful, because everybody's just happy that the day was such a success, and that all this, year of planning, 3 years, I guess, in this case, everything was great. There were no major problems. It was just nice to get back there again. And we have some beer, we have some wine, there's some snacks, and it ends up being, then we do more selfies and silly pictures. And I ended up staying at the hotel, because I was just like, you know what, at 4 a.m, we had an Air Canada room. I was like, I'm going to just stay at the room. There, I took a picture of my wine glass on the table next to the clock. That it was 4 o'clock on the dot. And I was like, what a day. So what happens then, as I talked about getting sick earlier in the show, is, that kicks your ass, right? The fact that you don't sleep, you hydrate sort of properly-ish, on the plane, because we're talking, and at the back of the plane, we're laughing. And so it's not like you're just having that quiet flight where you're sitting there and you're casually talking to the person beside you every couple moments. These are like full 4-hour conversations that we're having there and back. And we're laughing, and we're being silly, and we're joking, and we're eating. And then the humidity up there dries out your nose and your throat. And so then you come back after being awake for over 24 hours, and I had slept maybe about an hour and a half the day before, or the night before. And so now you're like almost awake for 48 hours, and that's even worse for your body. So for Thursday, I'm a blob, right? Because I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to nap for most of the day. It was a nice rainy day as well, so it's kind of like good. The dogs came home, everybody's quiet. And then Friday, I kind of usually start to get back on my feet. No, I had the tickle in my throat. So that was when I knew. I'm like, oh, great, here we go. The next 3-4 days, I'm going to be sick as a dog. And we had a retirement party to go to on the Saturday. So again, husband being out of town, and my cousin, her husband is also out of town. So she texted me, a week or so before and said, hey, do you want to be my plus one? We'll go together. The husbands are gone. Let's go. I said, sure. So she ended up picking me up because I thought that I would be drinking quite a bit. And I was just starting to get sick. So we go to this dinner, and it was funny because it was a Chinese buffet. So you're standing in line for food, right? It's not like at a restaurant where you're just sitting and waiting for your food to be brought. So we're standing, we got to people watch because there's a long lineup. It was a very busy restaurant. And we're just looking around and we're commenting on people. Like, I mean, we're being mean girls, but to ourselves. So it was kind of like, whatever. I was so bored waiting in line for 3 hours at Disney. Now I'm waiting in line for food, right? So I was kind of sort of in a mood, and we were just like pissing ourselves laughing, almost having to hold the plate in front of our faces when we were standing there because, people would be like, what are they laughing? Oh God, what's going on? And then I just started making jokes about like my cousins. I remember like going, I am the skinniest bitch in this family, aren't I? And like, it just, the things that we were saying and doing. There was a 13-year-old girl who had a birthday party there, and she kind of looked that 13-year-old hip, trendy kind of, girl. You wouldn't think that she wants to be at like a family Chinese buffet restaurant at we were there at 4:30 in the afternoon, so it's not like this was 6-7 o'clock at night. It was early on a Saturday, and she just seemed so unimpressed. She was posing for photos. The mom brings in this giant 1 in 3 balloon. They made it almost like a princess kind of a birthday, but you just know at 13 she doesn't want to be a princess. Maybe if you're 5 or 6 years old, the 13-year-old girl, she's not a princess. She actually kind of looked like a street thug, really, now that I think about it. Because we actually thought, here I go, I'm going to start to cough. We actually thought that she was going to get into a fist fight with one of her friends because it looked like they were having an argument, and my cousin kind of nudges me and she's like, they're going to throw down. She said they're going to throw down. I was like, this is going to be good. She's going to get into a scrap in a Chinese buffet at her birthday party. I mean, this was great. But that didn't happen. And so we just had fun with it. Like I said, none of us wanted to be there, but it was kind of like, we all sort of had to go because just of the connection that we had with the person, and we made the most of it. It was really quite fun. And the funny thing was that the restaurant is sort of close by to one of the casinos in the city. And so even before we went, I texted my cousin. I was like, should we just skip this and go gamble? Like, do you want to just go play slots or something? Let's do blackjack or let's do whatever. And she's like, yeah, I kind of want to do that. So we did. We stayed at the restaurant for a little while. And I said, but a lot of the people there, some of the family members anyway, they all gamble. So it's kind of like, what's going to happen if all of a sudden the family all bails on this thing and then we all meet up at the casino coincidentally? Only in my family would that happen. Or at least with my luck, that would happen with my family. So, yeah, it was just, that's where we've all gone to events where we don't want to go, whether it's, your spouse's Christmas party at work or it's, a kid's concert or whatever it might be. And you get pissy, you get miserable because you're just, I just want to get home. I want to get out of here. Let me just stare at my phone. We have this sort of mindset where it's like, let's just have fun with it. Let's just laugh. And so we had a good time for that. So then the whole sickness thing, like I said, it comes in waves. So the first day is the scratchy throat, and then it's the stuffed up nose, and then it's the sneezing the next day. And then I sound like I'm deathly ill, like today, but I'm not. Like, I feel fine. And normally it's gone within a couple of days. Now we're heading into almost a week. And we had to do some pre-taped radio segments earlier this week where they were actually going to be put into other programming that we were doing. So we kind of ran into an issue where it's like, okay, wait a second. I sound perfectly fine in the segment here, and then the next one I sound completely stuffed up. Right now I sound like I'm stuffed up. I'm not at all. I'm not stuffed up at all. That's what's so strange when I get sick. And so I hope that once we do this show now on Friday, I've got Saturday, Sunday to recoup and before I'm back on the air again on Monday, and all will be well. But anyway, tell me your thoughts. We covered a lot there. your thoughts on the whole Disney thing, prices going up, wait times, doing everything through apps, and none of this, they're moving ahead to the front of the line thing, and just what you think about Disney in general. live@jbonair.com is the email address, live@jbonair.com. And then also, too, we shifted gears then to the... so now I am going to cough. I knew that was going to happen. Shifting gears then to getting sick after you travel. Does it happen to you? Because again, like I said, it's my doctor had said, it's the dryness, it's the it's the dry air on the plane. You've dried out your nose and your throat, so you're not moisturized and you're not as lubed up as you normally would be. My eyes were on fire because again, I wasn't, I was wide awake. I hadn't slept. I was laughing. I didn't eat properly. I wasn't properly hydrated. We then stayed up all hours and we went to an after party where we drank more and stayed up and laughed and did this. And then, you're sleeping for a little bit. And so my doctor said to me, you did everything wrong to your body, is what he told me. So I'll blame myself on this one because a couple of my colleagues were saying, oh, it was a hangover. Like, no, you know what? I would take credit for that hangover because it was just such a fucking good time that I would own that. I would own that hangover. But it wasn't a hangover this year. And it has been in the past, I'll admit that. But anyway, so do you get sick after you travel? live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And tell me, how do you get through the time at an event or at a function that you don't want to be at? Do you bail early? Do you sit through it? Do you have a strategy to kind of get out of there? Are you constantly going to the bathroom to check your phone? What are you doing to get through that time? live@jbonair.com is the email address. I'm back on the Scribble right after this.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt, your shoulder hurts, and your back. Oh my God, your back. They're constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here is something you haven't tried. Pain Absolve. Pain Absolve is not available in any drugstore. The only way to get it is by calling today. We're so confident that it will work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase, no prescription needed, and best of all, each purchase comes with a money-back guarantee. Call now to find out how you can get Pain Absolve and get rid of your pain. Call 800-319-0582. That's 800-319-0582. 800-319-0582. Call today, 800-319-0582.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
So the show was basically just one long segment. I was supposed to break them up. I just got in trouble for it. You're welcome, everybody. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. Once again, that email address, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. I'm going to go rest. Have a good weekend. We just had a snowstorm here, even though it's, what is it now? April 21st. And snowstorm hit Winnipeg. So I hope the weather is better where you are. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some